Hello and welcome once again to the Disability Law Show. John Scholes, this handsome devil here, Sivan, Tumarkin, answering all your questions, and we're talking topics when it comes to disability law and injury as well. You want to reach out right away, 1-855-821-5900, help@disabilityrights.ca. Shorten that down to disabilityrights.ca, and you can catch past TV shows and links to our radio show as well. Lots of content for you to watch and listen to anytime. We're going to get lots of stuff today, pal, including the top 5 red flags when dealing with an LTD lawyer. That should be interesting, kind of putting yourself in the hot seat for that one. But first, week that was, what's going on?
So, John, it's been another very, very busy week. And, it's difficult sometimes to choose which scenario and which, situation to talk to our viewers about. But I will tell you this. I got an email this week, a disturbing email from a mother of a 26-year-old lady, who suffers from severe psychiatric issues. She has bipolar disorder, anxiety, depression, a whole gamut of issues. And she's being treated by a psychiatrist and she's being treated by a psychologist. There's a whole bunch of practitioners dealing with her. And, she applies for long-term disability and she gets denied. And the mother watched the show and, as a last resort, emails me and says, I don't know what to do because she doesn't have the strength to go through an appeal.
Right.
And, that word, that dirty word, an appeal, right, that James and I always talk about. And I wanted to get some more information, obviously. I need to understand, what the full scope of the disability is, what is the basis for the denial. And then, I communicated to her, I said, look, we can help your daughter. The reason given by the insurance company that her daughter does not meet the test of total disability is simply nonsense. And that's something that I want the viewers to understand, that total disability does not mean that you have to be in a comatose state. It doesn't mean you have to be catastrophically injured. It just means that you cannot do the substantial aspects of your occupation. Right. Or if you're beyond that 2-year mark, any occupation for which you're suited for. But again, there is this idea out there people have that they need to be completely and utterly disabled. Both arms amputated and be in bed and, no brain function. No, that's not what it means. Now, the thing that I liked here is that her mother is the one who reached out to me. And of course, I told them I can help. My team can help. This is what we do each and every day. We help people fight against insurance companies. And trust me, when we get in the picture and we take over the process, we take over the communications with the insurance company, it's a different ballgame. Okay, the individual, the actual person who is disabled can just focus on getting better. They can focus on treatments, which is what they ought to be doing in the first place. And we take over, we shoulder the burden, and we don't just defend them against the insurance company, we go on the attack against the insurance company to force them to pay what the person is owed. And in this case, it's the mother who reached out to me. Right. And again, to the viewers out there, it may not be you, but you may know someone. You may have a friend, a family member, a colleague, someone you know who may need help. And it's not just LTD. We deal with very serious car accident cases, We deal with various kinds of injuries, primarily disability, but oftentimes those types of issues are intertwined. You can have somebody in a very, very bad car accident that then has an issue with their long-term disability insurer, right, or their employer.
Yeah,
right? We do employment law too, and we're going to talk about that. Yeah. So you need a firm, a bunch of lawyers, let's say, a team that has that expertise in those areas of law, because they do intersect, they are intertwined, and we make sure that we defend you and shield you all around, and the compensation you deserve, you actually get.
It's interesting, the two things of that story that you mentioned, one was totally disabled. That term, brilliant term by the insurance industry, whoever came up with that is absolutely brilliant. They get a gold star. That shakes a ton of people off claim right away because I'm not totally disabled. I can still move and function and speak even though I can't do my job. That and the appeal says she's too weak to appeal, which is really, as bad as that sounds, a blessing in disguise, because that would have been more stalling and would have gotten her nowhere, right? Yeah,
you know what happens? People sometimes go through the appeal process because they think it's a formal process. They think that you have to do it. Right. No, you don't. It's an arbitrary deadline that they set for you. They tell you got 30 days to appeal, give us new documentation. Well, who do you think you're appealing to? You're not appealing to a neutral third party. You're appealing to the same people who cut you off in the first place, or the same team, certainly the same company. Yeah. So it's a waste of time, and oftentimes people, they'll hear about the program, they'll hear about us, and by that point they would have gone through 1 appeal, 2 appeals, 3 appeals. They think that there is just no way to get the insurance company to pay what they are owed, And we tell them, no, had you come to us 6 months ago, a year ago, you already would have had your money.
Sure.
Because really, that's how long, on average, it takes us to resolve these claims. You know, months, generally less than a year. Again, sometimes within weeks we can force the insurance company to pay. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Let me tell you about an interesting situation. We have a lawyer in our office. This is really interesting. It hasn't happened before, but I'm sure that it's happened in other offices where we got retained on a disability case. We wrote a letter to the insurance company, not demanding the money that the person's owed, simply asking for the adjuster's file. The response that we got from the insurance company wasn't, here's the file. The response was, we are reinstating this person. We are putting them back on claim. We haven't even started a legal claim against them. Just by virtue of our involvement, they backed off and capitulated. What does that tell you? Why did they cut off the person in the first place?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's a game from them. You know, they simply assume that for every X amount of people they cut off or deny, there's a good chunk of people who will either play that appeal game and go nowhere, or they'll simply walk away from money that is rightfully owed to them.
Play the odds.
Yeah, they're going to play the odds.
Yep. Again, it is help@disabilityrights.ca. That is the way to email in. We'll get to an email shortly. First, though, contrary to what the name says, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. There's a strong disability section in that as well.
There is. So let's start off by saying that this is a brand new website that we've created a short while ago, and it's been used literally thousands of times across the country. It's free. It's anonymous. If you have an employment issue, if you have a disability issue, an injury issue, again, oftentimes these things, they're intertwined.
Sure.
You're disabled, and then your employer gives you a problem. They either fire you, or they tell you, they harass you. Are you coming back to work or not? You want to get answers. Where do you go for that? You know, like you and I, most people, they Google it, right? But the problem is that Dr. Google doesn't always give you the right answers.
Google Law School.
You got it. So we created this new website, Pocket Employment Lawyer, that allows people who have any employment issues or any disability issues to go on there, select from a few key menus what is applicable to them, right? Just basically your fact scenario. And then that website, that tool, gives you a quick analysis of your case. It gives you a starting point. It tells you if you have a case or not. It gives you a quick analysis, and to the extent that you want to get more information, you can click on the button, and then we get in touch with you, and then we can talk to you about your specific case. If you don't, close the browser, and we never know that you were there.
Right.
But the point is that employment issues, disability issues, this is where you go. If you don't want to call us or any lawyer, you don't want to email anyone, just go onto that website, Pocket Employment Lawyer, and trust me, you're going to get accurate, free information literally within seconds.
You can try it, pocketemploymentlawyer.ca, as Sivan just mentioned, absolutely free and anonymous. And if you want to reach out, the top right, there's a little yellow Contact Us button there as well. It'll take you to the next step. Email is mentioned, help@disabilityrights.ca. Brother, here we go. Grace, first one for today. Grace says, Sivan, my brother has stage 4 lung cancer and is very unwell because of all the treatments. He recently traveled to the U.S. to a major cancer center for treatment, and his insurer wrote him saying that he will be cut off LTD payments because he traveled out of the country, and his policy said he's not allowed to do that. His treating oncologist recommended that he should go to that center in Texas as a last resort. What could we do? How can we stop the insurance company from cutting him off?
So this is an example of the type of insanity that I see insurance companies engage in. I mean, think about this for a second. Who doesn't know what cancer is? You're talking about someone whose oncologist told him, go to the States because they have a certain type of technology, treatments, whatever it is. And, that potentially could save you. And the insurance company then is relying on a technical provision in the policy. And by the way, many policies contain provisions that say that you cannot leave the country.
Okay.
They're geographical restrictions. Fine, whatever. But he didn't go for vacation. He went for life-saving treatments.
Right.
I am telling you, think about this for a second. When I'm assessing a case like this, I'm thinking to myself, okay, here's what the policy says. Here is what the actual story is. And what happens if I start a legal claim and this ends up before a judge? What do you think a judge is going to do? You think a judge is going to say, because in black and white it says you cannot leave the country, therefore, because you went for life-saving treatment, you're not entitled to these benefits? No. A judge is going to crucify the insurance company here. They're going to not only force them to pay, they're probably going to award punitive damages against them. So even though we have a policy, and I'm the first person to say we've got to look at the policy when we're dealing with a particular case to see what the insurance company is allowed to do or not do, you also have to look in the context of things. You have an obligation under the same policy to mitigate, to get better, to get treatments. In this case, this is what he's trying to do. He's trying to live.
Right, of course.
Right, we're not even dealing with an illness that is debilitating, in other words, not life-threatening. You're talking about an illness that is life-threatening. So, in a case like this, I'm telling Grace directly, I can help your brother. I haven't dealt with the situation precisely the same as this, but I've seen quite a few scenarios where this has come up, where people have had to go out of country, not to the US, but to places in Europe, Asia. And again, there are certain treatments that they have available there that perhaps are not being provided here. There is a way to argue that to the insurance company. And I think that if we make the right argument and we present this correctly, I will force the insurance company to come to the table and pay your brother what he's owed.
Is that provision in that policy, the language as stated in the policy, is it there? Because maybe not so much for treatments, which is insane, but it's like, you can't go to New Orleans for Mardi Gras while you're still sick. Is that why they put it in there? It can't be to stop you from getting treatments. That's silly.
There's a variety of reasons why they put it there. I'm not going to get into the minds of insurance companies, but at the end of the day, they have certain provisions in the policy, whether they deal with treatments or with what credit they get for certain payments you get. There's different policy reasons and logic for why they put certain provisions in there. But again, we got to look in context. We also have to look at the provisions themselves in terms of whether or not they're ambiguous or not. Oftentimes people come to me and say, I was denied or cut off LTD because they say that I breached a certain provision in the policy. And then when I look at the provision in the policy, I see that it can be interpreted in different ways. Well, there is a rule in contract law, in insurance contract law, which is a subset of contract law, that specifically states that if a provision in an insurance policy is ambiguous, if you can have different reasonable interpretations, guess what? The courts have to side with the individual, not the insurance company. Again, most people out there would not know that. That is a legalistic principle you learn in law school and as you practice. Insurance companies would rather you not know that because they will oftentimes point to that policy and say, to your policy, and say, look at that provision. Because of that provision, we can do X and Y. Not that fast. No. And when we start a legal claim and there is a defense lawyer on the other side, and we start talking about legal principles and what will happen if this goes in front of a judge, trust me, they back off. I'm never going to tell anyone that you have a slam dunk case. It's rare for me to see a case that is 100% pro one side or the other. The insurance company is 100% correct or the individual. But insurance companies often deny claims and make you think that you have absolutely no argument or no right to your money, and that's not the case. That's not the case.
Still to come here, the top 5 red flags when dealing with an LTD lawyer. We will get to that after the break. Disabilityrights.ca is the website. Put help at in front of that, and you can send an email along as well. Disability Law Show continues. Stick around. We're coming right back.
You lost your job. They only gave you 2 weeks of severance per year worked. But where can you find out what you're really owed?
I'm going to severancepaycalculator.com.
Find out how much you're owed right now. severancepaycalculator.com.
You've been denied long-term disability. You think you're powerless, but you have a lot more power than you think. I'll tell you a secret. It's a numbers game for the insurance company. They're betting on you walking away from money that they owe you. Don't make that mistake. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You lost your job. They said they had a good reason, but you think you've been wrongfully dismissed. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
All right, welcome back to the Disability Law Show. Coming up here, the top 5 red flags when dealing with an LTD lawyer. In the meantime, you want to reach out anytime, 1-855-821-5900. There's also pocketemploymentlawyer.ca. There's a very robust section on disability law there as well. So let's get going, pal. Number 1, top 5 reasons. First one is this: lawyers who say that they have expertise in an area of law when they really don't.
Yeah, so let's just back up for one second. This is something that I talk about quite a lot, how to choose the right lawyer. And this is not just applicable to LTD. It's also if you're choosing a family lawyer or a real estate lawyer, immigration lawyer, whatever lawyer you choose. And frankly, even if you have a long-term disability case, for people out there who say, you're doing this because it's self-serving, don't come to me. Go to a different LTD lawyer. The point is, these are red flags no matter what lawyer you go to.
Gotcha.
And if there's a lawyer at my firm that breaks one of these, they're not going to be with us for very long. So, number one, lawyers who say that they have an expertise in an area of law when they really don't. Again, applies across the board. Would you go to a doctor for a back issue, a doctor who's an eye doctor?
Right.
You're not, no matter what they tell you about their expertise in the back. You want to go to someone who has a specific focus and specific expertise and a specific set of experiences with a certain area of law.
Sure.
And we deal specifically in our law firm across all our offices with long-term disability, employment law, and injury law. Okay? And this is absolutely key, because if you go to a lawyer that says that they can help you with your long-term disability case or your injury case, and you end up choosing a lawyer that really does not do that, or in fact does that, but also does family law, immigration law, and everything else, you are going to be at a disadvantage. Guess what? Insurance companies know who the main players are.
Right.
They know who the big names are. They know who the lawyers out there who are willing to go all the way, who have the resources and the know-how. They know that. And why that's important? Because they're going to come to a settlement meeting with whatever amount of money that reflects your firm's reputation.
That's fascinating.
Right? That is key. And I can tell you that as a lawyer who used to work for insurance companies. When I used to come to the office, when I was a long time ago a defense lawyer, and I would look at a claim that was on my desk that I had to defend, I would turn to the back page and I would see who's the lawyer on the other side. Who's the law firm? Because that would inform me how much they have by way of resources, expertise, all that stuff. And I would then tell my insurance adjuster, accordingly, I would tell him or her, you got to put more money in the pot.
A few more shekels in this
one.
one.
You got it. Exactly. So you want to go to a lawyer who has specific expertise in disability law or injury law or employment law, which is exactly the kind of stuff that we deal with. And if your lawyer doesn't have that expertise, you're in trouble. That's my personal view. And you know what? I've seen it before. People who have gone to lawyers who don't have expertise, and it was difficult cleaning up the mess. And they end up taking less money and putting less money in their pockets at the end of the day.
Top 5 reasons or top 5 red flags when dealing with an LTD lawyer. This one has got to be one of your favorites, and that is lawyers who aren't responsive to your calls and emails.
This week we had another lawyer join us, and I do the orientation when it comes to these kinds of rules at the office. And I tell them, look, I don't expect everyone to be like me. I am obsessive compulsive. If you email me at 5 a.m. in the morning, you'll get an email back at 5:01, most likely. Don't tell my wife that. No. But the point is this: lawyers have to be responsive. And I know it is not necessarily something people expect, because many lawyers are not. Frankly, when I've dealt with lawyers for, when I bought my house and, immigration with family, I've had lawyers that I had to chase after. You should not have to chase your lawyer. You should not have to chase the lawyer's assistant. If you email me or you leave me a message, if I can't get back to you, someone else from my office is going to get back to you ASAP. Even when I'm in court and I'm on a break, I'm going to check my emails and my voicemails. We get voicemails forwarded to us via email, so we can actually listen to them on the phone. So, if you have a lawyer and the lawyer's not responding, and I have this all the time, John, people calling me saying, I have a lawyer, and that lawyer, I've left 10 messages, and I have no idea what's happening with my case. Bad sign, because guess what? Maybe that lawyer is not only not responding to you, but to the other lawyer who's trying to resolve your case.
Good call. Yeah.
So, you got to be very careful with a lawyer who does not respond. To me, that is a red flag. It doesn't mean that lawyer is not good in court, but it tells me that this lawyer clearly does not understand the value of communication, which is absolutely crucial in a case like this. People come to us because they have a problem. It's my job not only to fix that problem, but to make sure that they're fully informed every step of the way.
Another red flag is this: lawyers who don't take the time to explain the process to you and refuse or unable to answer your questions substantively.
Well, if they're unable to answer your questions substantively, clearly there's a problem, right? There's a knowledge issue. Exactly. I mean, if they're not answering your questions or able to explain things to you about the process and about what to expect, expectation is huge, right? You have to be able to explain what's going to happen? What's the next step? What are the 3 next steps? What you could be looking at. If your lawyer can't provide those answers or is unwilling, then something here is wrong. Something here is bad. Imagine going to a doctor if you have an illness and the doctor can't answer your questions or is refusing to answer your questions. You're going to go to a different doctor. And what's interesting is that because we do this show and because we do the radio shows and there's so much exposure in the media and I speak a lot, James speaks a lot, we get people calling us about cases, ongoing cases, where they have lawyers and they can't get simple questions answered from their lawyers.
Really frustrating.
Yeah, it's frustrating and it's not professional. Yeah. To me, that is a red sign. You should have all your questions answered. You may not like the answers, right? But you should have all your questions answered in a timely manner.
Another red flag is this: lawyers who speak with you, to you or with you disrespectfully and who dismiss your concerns and tell you, just trust me.
Yeah, no.
I'm good.
No.
Just trust me.
Again, I bring the doctor example. Can you imagine having a doctor who just speaks to you rudely?
Yeah.
I mean, many doctors are curt, right? I mean, their bedside manner is not the best. I'm not a fan of that. There are lawyers like that as well. That's very different than being disrespectful. I've heard horror stories from individuals who told me that lawyers have called them names, who've dismissed their concerns and worries.
Wow.
Yeah, I want to make sure that my client is fully informed. Even if my client says, I trust you, I say, thank you. I'm happy that you trust me. But I still want you to know what the information is that you need to know, because guess what? At some point, I'm going to ask you for instructions. As your lawyer, I can tell you where to go like a GPS, but you got to press the gas pedal.
Yeah.
So it's very important that if your lawyer is disrespectful towards you or towards your spouse or whoever is dealing with the legal issue for you or on your behalf, no, you got to put your foot down. That is completely unacceptable. It's unprofessional. And frankly, if the Law Society knew about that, that lawyer would be in trouble.
Wow. No kidding. Last red flag we got before we break here. We're talking about the red flags when dealing with an LTD lawyer is this: lawyers who pressure you, get this, to sign a retainer agreement or accept a settlement offer without an explanation.
Yeah, so especially in the injury world context, and I don't know if this came from the States or what, but if you are consulting a lawyer about an injury case or about an LTD case or frankly for anything, and that lawyer puts a retainer contract in front of you that says and tells you sign it right there and then, I would walk away. If it was me, I would walk away. I give those retainers to my clients because we have to have a contract. It's mandated by the Law Society. But I always tell people, take it, read it. We can go through it if you want. Have whoever you want read it. I want to make sure you're completely comfortable and understand everything that's in it. No pressure whatsoever.
Nice.
So it's very, very important that you are not pressured to sign up with that lawyer. And by pressure, I mean not that the lawyer says, this is time sensitive. I mean, that's a form of pressure, but that's okay to say because it may be time sensitive. But it's another thing for the lawyer to put the pen down and say, sign it.
Yeah, now, here.
Same thing with settlements. People call me and say, I was forced to settle. I was, the lawyer told me I have no choice. No, you always have a choice not to settle. You may need to settle. It may be an important part of the process. You may be at a stage where it's advisable to settle. And I will tell you if it is, and I will tell you if it's not. But at no point should you feel like the lawyer is telling you you have no choice but to sign the settlement. No, you always have a choice. You have to assess what the lawyer is telling you, and I always give people, the options. But no, you should never feel like there's a gun to your head. That's not the lawyer's job. The lawyer's job is to educate you, to inform you, and to give you the options. Just like a doctor. Again, doctor example, right? Here are all the treatments. Here's the one I recommend to you. Here's why. But it's your choice.
Call.
Ultimately, it's your call how you want to proceed.
Lots more to go here. Got to take a short break. Stick with us. 1-855-821-5900 and help@disabilityrights.ca is the email address. More coming up. We'll be right back. The Disability Law Show.
You were being harassed, and when you said something about it, you're the one who lost your job. Now what are you going to do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Insurance companies deny long-term disability claims all the time. They give lots of excuses. Don't give up. I've seen it all. They've ignored your doctors, they've ignored you. You're angry and you're frustrated. But there's hope. We resolve disability claims all the time. We force insurers to pay what they owe. We're in your corner.
Call Sivan and his team, 1-855-821-5900, or go to disabilityrights.ca. You thought you had a secure job. You didn't see it coming. Now what do?
I'm going to employmentlawyer.ca.
Always check with the employment lawyer first at employmentlawyer.ca.
Alrighty, thanks for hanging with us here. The Disability Law Show. Still a few minutes to go. Lots more information for you. Reaching out is simple. 1-855-821-5900 is the email address. Disabilityrights.ca online. You can catch past TV shows and a radio show as well. And another resource for you. We love this one. MyDisabilityQuestions.com. You can ask your questions there, and we answer them either on the website or on this show. Joshua is up next in that regard. Sivan, Josh says, I was on short-term disability for 6 months. When I applied for long-term disability, they denied me. I don't understand. It's the same insurance company, and my doctor confirmed that I can't work. I appealed, but I was denied. My friend has watched your show and told me to contact you. I'm 58 years old, and I don't really know what I should do or if there's anything I can do. What do you think?
Well, Joshua, thank you for contacting us, and a big thank you to your friend for telling you to contact us. Yeah, absolutely. John, this is not something that's unusual, but just like Joshua, it is baffling. How is it that an insurance company approves you for short-term disability and then in the same breath then says that despite the fact that it's the same test to get into long-term disability, suddenly you don't get approved for that? Makes no sense. Makes no sense. If your doctor confirms that you are disabled from working, and your doctor may not say that explicitly, your doctor may say that you have certain impairments and limitations. You may be going to not just a family doctor, but a specialist, an occupational therapist, a physiotherapist, a chiropractor, whoever you're going to. If they confirm in writing that you have these limitations and you cannot do your occupation, then you should get LTD. Now, what Joshua had done here, obviously, that was a mistake, is appeal that decision because as we talk about often, these appeals are useless. They're useless because you are appealing to the same people who denied you in the first place. They have no incentive to approve you. But people appeal because when they get the denial letter, at the bottom, there's usually a paragraph or two that talk about you have 30 days to appeal, you have to, or you should submit new documentation for our review. So you think there's a formality to it, and you think that you have a shot at getting this reversed. Now, I'm not going to tell you that it never works, just like I never say that, you know, playing the lottery never. It does happen. But try and Google how many people who file these appeals on LTD cases are actually successful. You're going to get no information. There is no information that I am aware of out there because insurance companies either don't keep track of it, I actually think they do, or more likely, I think they don't want to provide it. So, you know, we can help Joshua here. It's not even a problem. I'm really happy that his friend who was watching the show told him about this because, look, he's saying, I don't know if there's anything that I can do. Yeah, there's stuff you can do. Absolutely. Don't wait too long. I mean, contact me directly, which he has, but we have to connect. We can absolutely help him. And guess what? It's not going to be that difficult. When I get a situation like this, a case like this, where the same insurance company approved you for the STD portion, but not the LTD, and you have the exact same disability, not difficult to get the person to either get reinstated on LTD or get accepted to LTD, or to negotiate a proper settlement for the individual. And it's not going to take a long time, and it's not going to be that stressful, if at all, for the individual.
Well, the insurance company's already dipped their foot in the water. They're already paying them STD. Absolutely.
These adjusters, I mean, again, it's a game. This is a game. They are hoping that Joshua will walk away into the sunset and they keep the money that he's owed. He's 58 years old. I don't know how much he's earning. But I can tell you, this kind of a case could easily be worth in the 6 figures, if not more. That's money that's owed to him. And if he walks away, they keep it.
It's a good way to wrap the show. You want to reach out since we are done for today. 1-855-821-5900 is the number. help@disabilityrights.ca. That's the email. Shorten that to disabilityrights.ca. And you can catch past shows and our radio show as well. Thank you so much for hanging out. We'll catch you again on the Disability Law Show.